In this lesson, we're going to prepare our tile to import into ZBrush. Alright, so inside of 3ds Max, we need to do just a couple of things before we can export into ZBrush. The first thing that I want to do is I want to go ahead and select the plane underneath our blocks here, and I want to move this out of the way just for right now. And I want to come in here and I want to select all of the blocks that were on that construction plane. So with all of these selected, let's convert these over to editable poly. Now what I want to do at this point is I need to divide up these different blocks just for purposes for subdividing. We want to make sure that each block is subdividing at an even spacing. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to come in here and select something like this block here. And I want to come in and go to edge mode, so hit 2 on the keyboard to do that. Let's select the edges going across and then across the top here. Now with these selected, let's hit connect, and you'll see that that's going to cause a little bit of a problem. It's going to create this diamond. So let's select these right across the top here, and let's hit connect on this. Now I want to connect this 3 times. If I go to my top view, if you look at the grid, I'm wanting to match up the segments per every grid spacing. Okay, so let's select those. Let's select across the middle this time. Let's hit connect and do 3 by 3. Alright, let's go ahead and select our next block, and let's select right across the top here, and we'll do connect this way, and let's do 3 for that one, and then we're going to select across the middle. We'll hit connect, and we're going to do 1 on this one. Okay, and let's go ahead and continue to do this throughout, and I'm going to do 1 of each one, and then I'm going to pause it and fix the rest of them, and then you can do that in between. So let's select all of these edges here, and let's hit connect. Make sure that we hit the settings. I'm going to hit OK on that. Let's select these, and let's connect that as well as these. So we'll connect that as well. And let's make sure we grab these right across here, connect that 1 time. So what we're trying to go for is 1 segment per grid space. Alright, so we've already done one of these, and you can do that in your own time there. Now let's select this one, go to edge mode, let's select these right here, and we're going to connect these, and we're going to do that twice. And we'll do this one, and we'll do that once. Okay, oops. Let's try that again. Let's select those and then hit OK. Okay, let's grab the next one that we haven't done yet. It's going to be this one. So we're going to select these edges. We're going to connect that. And we're going to do that 5 times. Select the ones across the middle. Connect that. We're going to do that once. And hit OK. So all of these segments should come out perfectly square. Let's grab our next one. So we can do this one here. Edge mode, I'm going to select these, and we're going to connect that 1 time. Same thing across here, connect that once. And we do have a couple that are different. We have this one that's different from the rest of those, so let's select it. Let's select its edge, and we're going to connect. Let's do that 2 times. Across the middle, we'll do that 2 times as well. Let's select this one, and I'm actually going to change the color of this one really quickly. Let's change this to something like a darker green, just so we know that that one is different from the rest. Select the edges, we're going to connect to this, and we're going to do that 4 times, and then we'll also do this one. I believe this one's going to be 2 times. There we go. So that's a 3 by 4. And we've done all of them so far. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. I'm going to segment these out, and then we'll come back and then we'll talk about what we need to do to bring them into ZBrush. Alright, so now that we have these subdivided out, we want to do one last check just to make sure that everything is ready to go. And your segment should look like this. So every single block should have 1 grid space in it. And what this is going to do is just ensure that our objects will subdivide evenly inside of ZBrush. Okay, so once we have this, let's go ahead and do just a little bit more work on these objects here. So I just want to make sure that we carry over these hard edges that we need inside of ZBrush. So to start out with this process, I'm going to switch over to my perspective view, and I'm going to select just one of these objects, and I'm going to go to Attach and continue to attach all of these objects together into one. Now these are all going to turn the same color, and that's okay at this point, because whenever we take it into ZBrush, it's not going to matter. Now this looks like one large piece, okay, but they are still separate pieces or separate elements. So let's go ahead and click Attach just to turn that off, and let's go to polygon mode. Now this is going to be a little tricky at first, so what I want to do is I want to go to vertex mode really quickly, and I want to select all of the vertices along the top. So I'm going to go to front, and I'm going to select all of these vertices. Okay, now with all of them selected, I'm going to go ahead and hold down Control and go to polygon mode. Okay, now with all of these polygons selected, let's hit F2 so we can see the shaded view. And I'm going to go to my front view, and I'm going to hold down Alt and deselect the polygons on the side. Okay. Now with all of these selected across the top, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Shift and then go to Edge mode. Now this is going to select all of the edges on the outside of each one of those elements, so you can see each one of these traced out. So with this selection, let's go to Chamfer, and let's just chamfer the edges here. So this is going to give me a little bit of a ridge and show me a little bit of a separation between the different bricks, and this is exactly what I'm looking for here. Now you can go to 1 or you can go a little bit higher than that, but I'm just going to stick with 1 and hit OK. Now one thing that I may want to take care of are going to be these little triangles on these L-shaped blocks. So let's go to our front view, and I'm going to grab a hold of vertex mode, and I just want to select all of the vertices along that top segment there. So I'm going to hold down Control, and I'm just going to continue my selection using that marquee selection tool. And with all of these vertices selected across the top, let's use Weld. I'm going to use the Weld settings, and I'm going to zoom in here to my L-shaped object here. And right here on the corner, I just want to look at that really quickly. Okay, so with that, let's take our weld threshold up, and let's go to about 2 on this. And you'll see that those weld together, but nothing else is going to weld, and that's perfect. So let's hit OK, and let's go out of vertex mode, and now we've got all of these pieces separated. Okay, we've got a little bit of an edge. So now what we need to do is we need to export this out so we can bring it into ZBrush. So with this object selected, let's go to File, Export Selected, and you'll see right in here we have the OBJ file. So I'm going to use this floor.obj. Now you'll see that I have 2 different files here. These will come in handy in just a moment. We'll talk about these in just a second. So with this selected, let's go ahead and save over that and overwrite. This is going to be our original floor tile that we're going to export in. We're going to uncheck Export Materials and Create Matte Library, and make sure our preset is set to ZBrush, and then Export. We're going to hit Done on that, and then let's bring this into ZBrush. Alright, so let's go ahead and bring up ZBrush here. Alright, so with ZBrush up, let's go ahead and go to Import and import that file. So I'm going to go ahead and navigate to that right now. And I'm going to bring in that floor.obj. Let's hit Open. And you'll see it's brought in as our tool here. So let's go ahead and draw this into our canvas. Let's go to Edit Mode, and we'll rotate around here, and we can see that we have our tile started. I'm going to bring in a white matte cap here. So matte cap white, just so we can start to sculpt on this. Now before I can do anything, I need to separate this out into poly groups. So if I hit, I believe it's Shift F to bring up poly frame, you'll see that they're all the same. Okay, it's all part of the same object here. So let's go to poly groups, and let's do auto group. And you'll see that this switches into different colors. Now at this point I want to begin dividing or subdividing my geometry. So let's go to Geometry, and let's just hit a quick divide and just see what happens here. You'll see that it gets real mushy, and this is not going to be helpful for our stone floor. So let's hit Control Z one time, and let's use this crease, and that's going to crease these edges and ensure that we have a very hard edge. So now let's divide this, and we'll continue to subdivide, and you'll see how it keeps those edges. Okay, we can go up to 6 here, and we zoom in. I just want to see what it looks like as we sculpt here. So I'm going to select just this one and start to kind of sculpt on that. And you'll see that that gives me a very smooth result right here, and I'm really liking the way that looks there. Okay, so one thing that I want to discuss before we move on into our next lesson is what we can sculpt, or what we really need to sculpt. And with this floor tile, there are tiles or stones in here that are going to be exactly the same. So these 4 corners are going to be exactly the same. These that are overlapping that seam, those need to be exactly the same. So you only have to sculpt one of those. Same thing for this L shape here. This does not need to be sculpted because it's not, or actually it does, because it is overlapping right here. Let's see. We could come in and we can go across the top and begin to sculpt all of these, and I would like to sculpt 3 different variants of each shape. And that would ensure that we have enough to mix and match, so that way we don't have to come through here and sculpt each and every block. Now if you want to sculpt each and every stone, that's totally fine, but there are going to be some that we're going to have to switch out to be exactly the same. So for example, like I said, these on the 4 corners, those will have to be exactly the same because they are right on that seam, and we need those to match up right. Okay, so now that we have this separated out, in our next lesson we're going to go through some of the techniques to begin sculpting all of these different blocks. Alright, so I'll see you in the next lesson.